Welcome back. You've tuned into Menopause Taylor. That's me. And I have yet another perspective type tutorial for you on managing your menopause. In the last few videos, I focused on one aspect or another of menopause and compared two diseases to give you an opportunity to see the big picture and recognize their differences. And today, I'm going to do something similar. But instead of comparing and contrasting two diseases, I'm going to address two of your management option categories. I'll be presenting everything in isolation eventually, but sometimes isolating things can rob you of balancing one thing against the other. So I thought it'd be a good idea to address two of the most important things for managing your menopause: diet and exercise. You know, people tend to talk about diet and exercise together, but they're really quite separate. And just because you succeed at one does not mean you'll succeed at the other. So I'm going to delineate just how much each one can do for you. If you want to know which of these has the best return on your investment, you need to watch this video. So which do you think is more important, diet or exercise? Do you think you can accomplish the same things with both? Do you think there's a lot of overlap between the two? And do you think you can make up for falling short on one by doing well with the other? Questions, questions. I'm a very organized person, so whenever I address anything, I tend to organize it in some manner. So let's organize this discussion into categories. Let's talk about both diet and exercise in terms of the kind, the quantity, and the frequency. So let's start with kind of diet. What comes to mind when I refer to the kind of diet you eat? What's omitted from that diet? What's included in that diet? How long does it last? You see, part of the problem with diet is that the mere mention of the word diet conjures up certain assumptions that are mostly all wrong. So let me set you straight. Here's what a diet should entail. It should reflect your habitual way of eating. It should be something you can do forever. And it should take your cultural values into consideration. And here's what a diet should not entail. It should never leave you feeling deprived. It should never be temporary. And it should never be so drastic that it doesn't work with your way of life. What you have to do is be honest and realistic with yourself. The fact is that we all value food differently. You know, some people care more about what they eat than others. For some people, food is pleasure. For others, it's merely fuel. We all have to eat, but it constitutes basic necessity for some and sport for others. So your diet consists of your habitual way of eating. It's not dieting. Nothing that has a beginning and an end will benefit you in the long run. You have to adopt a style of eating that accommodates your relationship with food, your cultural dishes, your preferences, and your goals. Now, I have taught you that the very best diet is a 100% plant-based diet, and it is. But that doesn't mean it will serve your needs. And it doesn't mean you're willing to do it. You see, I'm a realist. I think that kidding yourself about what you'll actually do is a huge waste of time. So facts are facts, but action is action. And you have to put facts into action before they'll work for you. Unfortunately, most people tell themselves that they're going to diet in ways that they know darn well won't work for them. And any diet requires effort. It's all about controlling what you eat. And it's also about accountability. You know, most people don't want to be accountable for their actions or inactions. So adhering to any kind of diet requires planning ahead and surrounding yourself with the dietary options that your diet allows. Are you willing to do that? Okay, here's another factor. How much are you willing to actually get your nutrients from food rather than from a bottle? You know, people tend to want to have their cake and eat it too. Most people delude themselves into believing that they can have this with this, or all of these and this with this to compensate for this. You know, it doesn't work that way. You can't have your cake and eat it too. So are you the type of person who will just do it? Or will you drop the ball and try to make up for it later? I mean, come on, you know yourself better than anyone else does, so just be honest with yourself. So here are the facts. The kind of diet you eat has a huge impact on your menopause. The closer you can get to a 100% plant-based diet, the healthier you'll be. And the more you can eat fresh foods that contain all your vitamins and minerals, the better off you'll be. But it won't necessarily be easy. And it won't be socially convenient. As a vegan of over 42 years, I can tell you this. It's not easy to eat out. Most people in the restaurant industry don't even know what a vegan diet includes or excludes. So not only do you have to plan ahead, you also have to take food with you everywhere you go. It takes effort, but the rewards are huge. So what about exercise? Newsflash, it encompasses all the same issues. What constitutes exercise for you? Is it one activity or many activities? Do you say, oh yeah, I exercise because I move a lot at work? Or do you have dedicated exercise? Here's what exercise should entail. It should fit into your habitual daily routine. It should be something you can do forever. And it should take your fitness values into consideration. Here's what exercise should not entail. It should never leave you feeling injured. It should never be temporary. And it should never be so drastic that it doesn't work with your way of life or your routines. So like diet, exercise is something some people value more than others. For some it's pleasure, and for others it's a chore. And you have to engage in a kind of exercise that you can do successfully. So here's the truth. You need 4 different kinds of exercise. You need aerobic exercise, you know, where you're doing some kind of activity that might make you sweat a little bit. You need some resistance exercise like you can do with elastic bands or weights. You need some kind of balance exercise. And you need flexibility. If you only do one of those or you do the same thing all the time, you won't serve your menopausal needs very well. You see, most people get into ruts. They do one thing over and over and over. And then they have the audacity to wonder why they aren't seeing results. I always bite my tongue when I hear someone say, I just don't understand it. I've been doing the same thing for a year and nothing's changing. Isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing and expecting different results? So next we address quantity. How much food do you eat? Do you think it matters? Are calories calories, no matter what kind of calories they are? You know, some people believe it doesn't matter whether the calories are fat calories, protein calories, or carbohydrate calories. Other people think it's all about what kind of food constitutes the calories. They even go so far as to completely omit one or more type of food category. Does it matter whether you get your vitamins and minerals as part of the calories you consume versus taking them from a bottle so that they don't constitute any of your calories? How much do you eat in? And how much do you eat out? Do you think there's a difference in the quality of your diet between the two? So how much do you control what you eat? So here are the facts about food quantity. You should probably eat more, not less. But it's all about timing, which we'll discuss next with frequency. And you need calories from all three food groups: protein, fat, and carbohydrates. They are not all created equally. Completely omitting any of those three food groups is completely absurd. And the more you eat out, the worse your diet will be. Sorry, but true. You really have no idea what's actually in the food you get at restaurants. So what about exercise? How much is enough? And how much is too much? Do you have to sweat for it to be adequate? Is that saying no pain, no gain true? Do you think it's equally good to do vigorous exercise for a short time or easy exercise for a long time? You know, we spend a lot of time justifying what we like to do, but what really matters? Here's the thing. Exercise is not supposed to wear you out. It's supposed to invigorate you. You're supposed to enjoy it. Likewise, it's not supposed to bore you so that you just go through the motions to get it over with. I've heard so many women say things like, I hate yoga. It's just not active enough for me. And I respond with, well, why don't you do your vigorous exercise first and then do some yoga? And they always look at me with that, I never thought of that kind of look. And then there are people like me who never do vigorous exercise. I'm the slow and steady type. I exercise for a longer time, but at a leisurely pace. I always tell people I have two speeds, slowest and stop. So there's not just one right way to do it, but do something. You need both variety and a quantity of exercise that suffices for meeting your menopausal goals, whatever they may be. And if you're looking for weight loss, that will require more exercise than weight maintenance. But never, ever exercise to an extent that causes injury. That defeats the whole purpose. And that brings us to the final category, frequency. So how frequently do you eat? Once a day? 3 times a day? How frequently did you eat when you came into the world as a baby? Every 2 to 3 hours, right? Why did you change that? You know, humans are very strange animals. There is no other animal on earth that can eat frequently and doesn't. You know, cows graze all day long. The only animals that don't eat frequently are those that have to hunt for their food. But we humans, we do dumb things like decide to eat every 6 hours instead of every 2 hours, just because. And then we arrange everything in our lives around our absurd, unnatural food schedule. It's bizarre. And here's the catch. It's the worst thing we could possibly do. You know, your body is smarter than your brain. And your body says, if you feed me frequently, I will gobble up the food, function efficiently, and store none of it as fat. That's called a fast metabolism, and it prevents weight gain. But if you don't feed me frequently, I'll slow down your metabolism because I don't know when to expect food again. And I'll store as much as possible as fat. It's such a simple concept, but almost everything humans do with regard to eating counteracts it. So if you want the best possible outcome for your menopause, eat multiple times a day, about every 2 hours all day. That way, you never have to eat a heavy, huge pile of food all at once. We are supposed to be grazing like cows, not hunting like lions. What about exercise? How often should you exercise? Once a day, once a week? Is it better to be regular at it or to take breaks? Let's approach it like this. Do you eat every day? Well, then why in the world wouldn't you exercise every day? Sure, you can change what you do from day to day, but you do need to exercise every single day. I'm always surprised when people take a break from their exercise, and then they're surprised at how difficult it is to get back into it. Hint, that's your body's way of telling you that the breaks are unwelcome. Think of this whole diet and exercise phenomenon as a balancing act. You need both. You need variety in both. You need both frequently and regularly. And guess how many of the symptoms of menopause are affected by your diet? All of them! Guess how many are affected by exercise? All of them! Guess how many of your disease risks are affected by diet? All of them! And how many are affected by exercise? You got it, all of them! So diet and exercise impact every single aspect of your menopausal life for the rest of your life. So why not use this time in your life to adopt great diet and exercise habits that will pay dividends for the rest of your life? And that's where I will end today. It's time for me to eat again. It's been about 2 hours and my body wants to be fed. So I will see you next week. I'll see you then. Bye.